Apotheosis Chapter 10. Xie Lang was a weapon refiner in Chongyang County. In the East region, weapon refiners were a very popular profession. Most families were willing to pay a high price to treat them as guests of honor to forge divine weapons for the family. However, most families in the East region hated Xie Lang very much when they mentioned him. They wanted to kill him as soon as possible. This was because this person's actions were very strange and his weapon refining methods were very evil. Every time he opened the furnace, he would use the blood of living people to refine it. He would even throw living people into the furnace and burn them alive. Such a vicious person was wanted and surrounded by many families in the East region. However, this person's strength was tyrannical and his whereabouts were erratic. He was lucky to escape several encirclements. Unexpectedly, he happened to pass by here today and inexplicably picked Luo Zheng. Moreover, he stretched out his hand to kidnap her without saying a word. Xie Lang, this person is from the Luo family. Let him out quickly, Luo Bingquan said solemnly. Although he was a half-step to innate realm, he would not be relaxed when facing Xie Lang. Xie Lang clicked his tongue and said with a smile, "Since he is from the Luo family, why do you still point your sword at him? Since you want to kill him so much, wouldn't it be better if I took care of him for you? Since the unfilial son of my family is to be dealt with by me, the patriarch, those who offend the Luo family will not have a good ending. Don't make a mistake." Luo Bingquan said seriously. Those purple long swords floated around him, ready to attack. If Luo Shao was here, would have some scruples. But you? You are still lacking. Who in the Luo family can't be offended by me now? Xie Lang laughed shrilly. Such a demon, spouting nonsense. Watch me kill you here with my own hands. Luo Bingquan's face darkened. The purple long sword whistled and slashed toward Xie Lang. Let's see how you kill me. With a sharp laugh, Xie Lang drilled back into the copper furnace. The copper furnace started to roll, and actually went back and charged towards the Luo family disciples. When the Luo family's disciples saw the huge cauldron rolling towards them, all of them screamed for their parents and fled in all directions. Some of the Luo family's disciples couldn't dodge in time and were sent flying to the side. Their bodies were badly mutilated, and it was unknown if they were still alive. Luo Bingquan followed behind, constantly controlling the purple longsword to slash at the copper furnace. Although his purple longswords were incomparably sharp, the copper furnace had some unknown metal added to it. Under the slashing of the purple longsword, it only produced a series of clanging sounds, but not a single mark was left behind. The copper cauldron crushed the entire drill ground into a mess. The disciples of the Luo family screamed again and again. Then, it turned around and swaggered away. Luo Bingquan watched helplessly as the copper cauldron rolled further and further away, but he was powerless to do anything. He gritted his teeth and was just about to raise his sword to chase after it when he was stopped by Luo Zheng. "Second brother, this demon's actions are strange. It's better not to chase after it. That unfilial son, Luo Zheng, how should we deal with him?" Luo Bingquan said expressionlessly. Luo Zheng sneered and said, "This Xie Lang's actions are vicious. Most of the living people that he captured were thrown into the furnace and burned alive. Luo Zheng definitely won't be able to survive in his hands." Luo Bingquan nodded and glanced around at the disciples of the Luo family. There was a surge of uneasiness in his heart, but he couldn't figure out where this uneasiness came from. So, he said to Luo Zheng in annoyance, "Pass down the order. Do your best to treat the injured disciples of the Luo family today." On the drill ground, there were probably dozens of injured disciples of the Luo family. Many of them had broken legs or ribs, and were crying and screaming in pain. When the other disciples of the Luo family who were not injured saw this scene, their hearts were gloomy. Putting aside the grudges between Luo Zheng and second uncle and third uncle, the Luo family had indeed, in the past, when Luo Zheng's father, Luo Shao, was still alive, how could a demon like Xie Lang dare to come to their door so brazenly? Moreover, the decline of the Luo family could be seen in many subtle ways. In the ranking of the big families in Chongyang County, the Luo family, which had always been at the top, was now ranked outside the top 3. In the past, the disciples of the Luo family walked on the streets, showing off their prowess. In Chongyang County, who dared to provoke them? Now, the disciples of the Luo family had become cowards. They even had to look at the faces of some servants in the family. These days, they couldn't live anymore. Luo Zheng shrank in the small copper furnace and didn't make a sound. As the former young master, Luo Zheng had of course heard of Xie Lang. His father had told him more than once that if Xie Lang fell into his hands, he would use the 3-feet-long Qingfeng sword in his hand to cut Xie Lang into two. Luo Zheng had also heard of Xie Lang's various atrocities, such as using living people as sacrificial offerings to refine weapons. Falling into the hands of this person, Luo Zheng could only sigh and say that he was unlucky. He had just escaped from the wolf's den and landed in the tiger's den. The copper furnace rolled forward, and Luo Zheng also followed it and kept spinning. In addition, there was a rotten smell coming from Lang Xie's body, which made Luo Zheng almost vomit. After rolling for a while, the bronze cauldron suddenly stopped. Lang Xie stared at Luo Zheng with his empty eyes, which were as hollow as a skeleton's. He even sniffed Luo Zheng with his nose, then said with a puzzled face, "This is strange. I have never seen a body like yours in all these years. You don't seem to be a human. The smell on your body is very similar to the profound weapons that I have refined. I am a living person with hands and feet. If I am not a human, then what am I? I advise you to let me go. I am of no help to you in refining weapons." Luo Zheng said snappily, but his heart skipped a beat. This Xie Lang's nose was so sensitive that he could smell the body of a profound weapon. Let you go? Hee, don't count on it. I like people with a special body like yours. If I throw you into my precious refining furnace, I don't know what kind of things I can refine. After saying this, Xie Lang reached out and handcuffed Luo Zheng with a chain in the copper furnace. Then he jumped out of the copper furnace. The copper furnace suddenly rose from the ground and floated forward. It turned out that Lang Xie had used his hand to hold the copper furnace and was running wildly. His speed was much faster than before. This made it convenient for Luo Zheng. Just now, he was rolling forward and it was really uncomfortable. Now, he didn't have to smell the rotten smell of Xie Lang's body. He could even stick his head out of the copper furnace and look at the surrounding scenery. As for the chain that was handcuffing him, it was neither gold nor iron. He pulled hard and it didn't move an inch. So he gave up the idea of breaking the chain. Even if he could escape from the copper furnace, so what? Xie Lang wasn't even afraid of Luo Bingquan. How could he escape in front of Xie Lang? Relying on his bare feet, Xie Lang ran at an extremely fast speed. The dense black forest continued to fly behind Luo Zheng. Looking at the towering trees and the ghostly cries of crows and owls, he reckoned that he had reached the deepest part of the forest. After passing through the large forest, Luo Zheng saw a cliff suddenly appear in front of him. However, Xie Lang didn't seem to know about it. He ran straight to the end of the cliff and finally jumped up with the copper furnace. If he jumped down from the cliff like this, wouldn't he be smashed to pieces? Luo Zheng firmly grabbed the edge of the copper furnace. Just as he was panicking, the copper furnace stopped falling. It turned out that on the cliff, there were rocks that looked like barbs protruding out. Xie Lang held the copper furnace with one hand and grabbed the barbs with the other. Just like that, he descended down the cliff step by step. At the end of the cliff, there was a towering tree with dense branches and leaves. Xie Lang stepped on the trunk of the big tree and stretched out his hand to push aside the dense branches and leaves, revealing a big hole. The hole was narrow and the copper furnace could barely squeeze in. However, the deeper he went in, the more space there was. It was a completely different world inside. It's no wonder that Xie Lang managed to escape even after Chongyang County launched several joint manhunts. He actually placed his lair in such a place. It's too secretive, Luo Zheng thought to himself. The interior of the cave was dozens of feet high. The walls of the cave flickered with a dark red light. Looking carefully, there was a faint flow of underground fire. This place was an excellent place for refining weapons. In the middle of the interior, there was a black refining furnace. The furnace had 4 legs and was completely black. 8 sharp thorns protruded out of the furnace's walls. The end of each of the sharp thorns actually pierced into a person's body. This person's blood essence had been completely absorbed by the sharp thorns. All of them were skinny and were even scarier than skeletons. However, their abdomens were undulating and they were on the verge of death. They were actually not dead yet. These were all living people. Not far from the crafting furnace, there were a dozen or so iron cages made of refined iron. Each of the cages was about 1 meter long, and each of them had a living person curled up inside. Most of these people had lifeless eyes, and their bodies were constantly trembling. It was said that Xie Lang's methods were cruel and vicious. Now, it seemed that it was true. He actually used such an evil method to refine weapons. Seeing this scene, Luo Zheng was secretly shocked. Clang! The copper furnace was thrown heavily onto the ground. Xie Lang laughed shrilly and climbed onto the copper furnace. He extended his nose in front of Luo Zheng and sniffed. A satisfied smile appeared on his face as he said, using flesh to refine weapons and sealing a person's resentment into the weapon. The profound weapon refined in this way will naturally have a strong resentment and its power will increase greatly. I don't know why, but the aura of your flesh and blood is very similar to that of the profound weapon. If I refine you together with the profound weapon, I'm afraid it will increase the power of my Hellfire sword. Who knows? I might even be able to refine it into